see if anybody joins. Why aren't you following me? Okay. I think that is dead. Hey, Patriot Mama, how's it going? All right, it is Friday night garage talk. Let's see. I'm trying to get. I think I need to recharge my little thing that follows me. All right. Well, once again, it's Friday night. Nobody's streaming, so I thought I would come turn on the camera, see what's going on. I'm doing great. Doing great. Good to see you. Thanks for hopping on. I thought I would turn on the camera and work around the garage a little bit and chat. I guess if I'm going to make this, maybe I should make this a regular thing. I don't know. If I am, I should probably not be drinking before I start. So that would be a good habit to get into. Or maybe I should plan about some stuff to talk about. I actually need to work on this car a little bit. I bought it. I think I told you guys a little while back. I bought it and it's in really good shape, but I think it needs a wheel bearing. So I don't know if you guys noticed, I have a lift here in the garage. If anybody needs a lift, this Max Jack one is actually pretty good. I should probably do a review on it at some point. You wouldn't have known if I had said anything. Okay. So I put it up on the lift and you know, I was kind of feeling something when I was driving. I think this wheel needs a bearing, so I was going to take the wheel off last week, and I couldn't find my torque wrench and my right size socket. I've got some tire tools, but yeah, I just couldn't find the right tools. So tonight I came out and found the tools that I needed. Most of them were in my little tray over there. I'm really bad about putting my tools away, so that's why I typically can't find things. So I loosened my lug nuts a little bit. For those of you who have never changed tires, you're supposed to break the lug nuts loose before you lift it up off the ground. So I've done that, and so I think I might put it up on the lift and take the tire off and see if I can figure out what's going on under there. Lots of politics have been happening, so if you guys want to talk about politics, we can certainly do that. I'm not in a hurry, don't have to get this done tonight, but just something to do. So is my hubby. Lets his shit lay everywhere. Yeah, I am so bad about that. I'll find a place for everything, and then I'll use it, and it'll get put somewhere, and then the next time I need it, I can't find it. So that is something that I need to work on. You know, I found it, so I'm good to go. I've got impact wrenches and all that kind of stuff, so I could have gotten the job done, but I was really looking for the right tool. So let's see if we can get this car up in the air. Okay, let's go. Hang on. Okay, I don't think I'm gonna be able to use my lift tonight. Dang it. we're just gonna have to talk about politics. Okay, let's see, what do you think about Johnson? I'm ecstatic about Johnson, so we'll get to that in just a second, but before we go anywhere, let me explain. My lift is plugged into outlets. All of those outlets are tied into the outlets that are also on the front porch and outside. And sometimes when it rains, the GFCI flips and I can't get it to reset. So that's something I'll deal with when it's not raining. So I guess we're not gonna use the lift tonight, which may be a good idea anyway. Johnson, I'm ecstatic. So many people were bitching at Gaetz because, he didn't have a plan. Well, this was the plan, right? Anyone was better than McCarthy, right? Hey, Debbie, good to see you. Thanks for joining. Yeah, I think anybody was better than McCarthy, and that's kind of what Gaetz was saying. Gaetz was saying he was going to support Scalise or anybody really. Maybe not so much Tom Emmer. I know, President Trump came out against Tom Emmer, which made sense. I don't think any of us really liked him. Scalise would have been bearable, but maybe not an ideal choice. Everybody, I think most people like Jordan, but people were kind of pitching a fit about him, mostly to get back at Gaetz. I think I didn't know much about Johnson until this week either, right? So I think everyone was mad at Gaetz, so that's kind of why they voted against Jordan. But if you don't watch Matt Gaetz's show, he's got a YouTube / Rumble channel, and I think he calls it Firebrand or something like that. But he's been on War Room with Steve Bannon and some other places talking about what actually happened. And so what happened was when they went in there to, they had the five people they were voting on. And they voted several times. Y'all probably remember this. And the last person, the person with the lowest rating got dropped off, and that kept happening until it was down to Tom Emmer and Johnson. And so they got rid of Emmer, and it was just I think I can't remember the guy's name, but Gaetz said there was one of the younger congressmen that we don't, somebody we don't really know, said, hey, you know what, rather than us just doing this whole thing all over again and going through all these speeches and whatnot, can we just vote and, kind of raise your hand unofficially and say, is everybody on board with Mike Johnson? And Kevin McCarthy stood up and said, I object, that's against the rules, we can't do that. And so when he did that, everyone realized that it was Kevin McCarthy this whole time that was stabbing everybody in the back, stabbed Scalise in the back, stabbed Jordan in the back. Kevin McCarthy was the one that was holding everybody back. And so they had an anonymous vote, and a whole bunch of people voted for Johnson, and there were, Kevin McCarthy was going around saying that he was going to have 100 people vote for him. But they had all seen that, so he only got, I think it was like 43 that wrote in McCarthy, even though he wasn't on the list. They wrote in McCarthy. And so Mike Johnson said, okay, 43 people are holdouts. I want a roll call. I want everybody to, anybody that doesn't like me, speak up. And so they did another vote. And after they had all recognized that it was McCarthy that was sandbagging everybody, 100% of them voted for Johnson. And so from that point on, they took it to the floor. Johnson got elected. Y'all know the story. But Gaetz kind of gave the behind the scenes and let everybody know that it was McCarthy that was screwing everything up and causing the chaos. They were all blaming Gaetz, but it was really McCarthy. So let's see. I don't know much about Jonathan. Yeah, Gates voting for Emmer wasn't a good look. I like Gates with or without a plan. Okay, yeah, I do too. Gates, I think Gates was being strategic, and I don't blame him for the things that, for voting for someone that's less than ideal, because he put his neck on, he and the 7 others, I can't name all the quote unquote hard 8, but all the people that voted to oust McCarthy, they're the ones that put their neck on the line. And so they had to prove that it wasn't to get Jordan or their pick voted. It was just to get rid of McCarthy, because McCarthy broke all the promises. And so Gates kind of had to make some tough choices to go along with whoever they picked. It didn't matter who they picked. But he had to show that he was just trying to get rid of McCarthy, because McCarthy was the one lying to everybody. And so he did that. I think he navigated it successfully. We've got a good speaker now. Let's see. Too bad that didn't happen when Jordan was still in the race. Yeah, it's unfortunate. I think Jordan would have been great, but let's talk about Mike Johnson. I really didn't know much about him until this week, or recently, and from what I've seen, he seems to be pretty great. He's from Louisiana. I think everybody knows that now. They've pulled up some old videos of him grilling Merrick Garland, and those, even though I didn't pay attention to him at the time, the things he said sound great. He was in front of the press, and they said, how do you feel about this position or that position? He says, if you want to know what my positions are, read the Bible. And I don't know if he had a Bible, but he said, just read the Bible, because that's the plan I'm going to follow. And so I got to respect that position. Let's see. He also had to prove it wasn't a personal vendetta against McDonough. yeah, you're right. I mean, I think Gates kind of, I think he played it so well. I mean, I could kind of see what he was doing. I kind of believed that he and Jordan were playing the good cop, bad cop. I may have said, I don't know if I said that on a live stream, but I felt like he was playing the good cop, bad cop. Gates was being the bad cop and letting Jordan be the good cop, hoping that he would get picked. But what I'm seeing, I kind of like Mike Johnson. I think, when you talk about, there's nobody in the world that I'm going to agree with 100%. Nobody, right? And when you talk about Ukraine, for example, I think he voted for the original package way back when, but then he's been voting against Ukraine aid. But I think, and I didn't see, I watch, I'm a political news junkie, but I don't see all of it. You can't possibly see all of it. But I believe that he told some reporter that there was going to be a Ukraine package come through. But I kind of give him a little grace, because I think I am fine with them voting on pretty much anything, as long as it is single issue bills, right? And so if a Ukraine package comes up, I'm not going to put it on Mike Johnson's shoulders to stop it or prevent any vote on it. I would only expect him to do that on certain issues that you got to lay down on the tracks for. Actually, I think it would be good to have a single issue vote on the Ukraine package, because that will tell us all who to vote for, and whether we need to hold our individual congressmen accountable, right? When they have this big omnibus or CR or everything's jumbled in there, they say, oh, well, maybe I didn't really support that, but I had to vote for it to fund our service members, or there's always something in there that they can say, well, I couldn't vote no because of this. Well, when it's an individual package, then we can judge them on the individual votes that they make. So I agree, but we're broke. Exactly. Yeah. We need to quit sending money places. You know, we need to take care of ourselves. I mean, I think that's the true conservative position. You know, you listen to Lindsey Graham, and oh my gosh, why do you call him a conservative? You know, there's people that just want war and think that, you know, we need to send money all over the place as long as it's for a war. I'm not on that train, but you know, it's not for me or even my single congressman to decide that. That's what a representative republic is that we send people that represent us, and then they vote accordingly based on what we want. And so we have to see how they vote on those individual things in order for us to say, well, this guy does represent me, or maybe he doesn't, right? So like I said, I don't expect Johnson. I'm going to give him a little bit of grace. I hope they don't do another CR. They've already passed one of the individual budget bills. Was it agriculture? I'm not really sure. They've already passed one. I think his plan is to pass one every week and just go through them and knock them out before this CR runs out, which it's coming up quick in a couple of weeks. I don't remember the date, but he's trying to do it. If they have to pass another couple of weeks or 30 days, 45 days, you know what? I'm going to give him a little runway. I'm going to let this guy show me what he's about, right? So everything I've seen about him, I'm willing to give him the benefit of the doubt right now. Now, I've got a short fuse. You know, it doesn't take much for me to turn, but you know what? I'm gonna let him show us what he's got, right? So I guess it's a lot of words to say I'm on board with Mike Johnson. I don't think we could have done a whole lot better. You know, maybe Jim Jordan, but you know, Jim Jordan maybe already has some allegiances built up. I've got high hopes for this guy. The number one goal was accomplished as far as I'm concerned, and that's to root out the establishment and the McCarthys and the Emmers and the Scalises and all of that. So all of those lobbyists across the street, they're doing what happened to all our money. They spent all this money grooming up the establishment, and now they don't have all that money's not representing them anymore, and I couldn't be happier about that. So I'm pretty ecstatic there. Otherwise, what else is going on in the world? You know, we got the whole Israel, Hamas, Palestine thing going on. Let's see, we got some new, Dana Bell, howdy. Welcome, saying it can't possibly be any worse, but I'm also tired of choosing between the lesser of two evils. I agree. You know, I say I'm an old man now, but in all the years I've been voting, there's been very few times where I've actually voted for someone. 9 times out of 10, I'm voting against someone, and I'm sick of it. I really am. So, you know, I vote for Trump. You know, beyond that, there's not a lot. But yeah, what was, Israel. You know, online I see a lot of people saying, okay, well, you're against spending money on Ukraine, but are you for spending money in Israel? And me personally, I think we should support Israel. I think they are a vital country in that area, but the best thing we could do for Israel is just to get out of their way. They don't need us to fight for them. Every single time there's some issue or uprising or something going on over there, we call for a ceasefire, or we insist that they quit defending themselves. I I think we just need to quit doing that and say, you know what, go for it, and just step back and say, do what you got to do. And if we did that, that would be better than any amount of money we could send to them. So while they are a huge ally, and I support Israel, and I think they're in the right in all of this, I wouldn't be opposed to sending them a little bit of arms or something small, but they don't really need that. They need us to get out of the way. Let's see. I don't have a popular opinion on the Israel-Palestine issue. I think both are corrupt. Well, yeah, maybe. It's hard to say that even Israel is, nobody has clean hands in that whole thing. So don't misunderstand what I'm saying. They don't have clean hands either necessarily, but to parachute in and kill innocent people and babies and raid houses and things that Hamas did, that's unforgivable. And so I'm willing to look the other way and let them defend themselves in the way they feel necessary. So, like I said, I don't think we need to send a bunch of our troops. We don't need to send a ton of money, maybe slight aid, but the best thing we could do for them is just get out of the way and say, you know what, go for it. Do what you got to do. And I think that would probably solve 90% of what's going on, right? So, if y'all haven't seen, I believe right now in New York, is it New York? Grand Central Station, that's where it is. There's some giant pro-Palestine protests going on right now. And I think some people have been arrested, but I look at that, and at some of the colleges, a lot of that stuff has been going on. There's been a lot of the Jewish donors that have said, you know what, I'm done. I'm not donating anymore. They've donated large amounts, and they said, you know what, if this is the way you're going to be, I'm not donating anymore. I think that's the way the world works. I am a free speech person, so I struggle with telling someone they can't support Palestine, but I find it a little distasteful, and they seem to have teamed up with the Antifa, Trans Tifa, as people like to call them, groups, and so they take some of the tactics that are not necessarily in line with what the intent of the First Amendment was. So everybody's entitled to their opinion and their free speech, but when you occupy the Capitol like some of those protesters did, they weren't treated the same way that the J6ers were treated. Jamal Bowman, is that his name? He got off with a slap on the wrist. He wasn't treated the same way as the J6ers were. So, all I care about is equal treatment under the law, right? So that is what it is. Let's see. I guess what bothers me with the conservative population is that we laughed at the people who rushed to fly the Ukraine flag to show support, but then we did the same with Israel. Agreed. Okay, yeah, I mean, you're right. I never necessarily laughed at anyone that supported Ukraine. I mean, Russia's not. there's nothing positive to say about Russia. The biggest problem I had was sending billions of our dollars and tons of military hardware that we don't have now to protect our own country. We've sent it all over there when that's not our battle. I mean, I think it was fine to say, yay, I hope Ukraine wins, but I wasn't, on board with fighting a proxy war with Russia. There's, we don't need to win that war, right? And one of the other points that a lot of people are making is that almost immediately everybody's calling for a ceasefire with Israel. Israel has to, cease fire immediately. Who's calling for the ceasefire with Russia? Who's saying, hey, let's sit down and let's negotiate, let's talk, let's not shoot missiles at each other? Why is that not the number one priority versus let's send them all the money so that they can blow each other up, right? So it wasn't carried out the same way as J6, but same crimes. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, if you're charging someone with disrupting congressional proceedings, Jamal Bowman did that, right? He pulled the fire alarm. New video came out. I mean, I knew it and saw it in the first video, but the new video came out where it shows where he pulled those signs down, threw them on the ground before he pulled the fire alarm, just to act like they weren't there or they had been knocked down or something. He's the one that took them down. He knew what he was doing, right? So yeah, equal treatment. That's my big thing there. If you're gonna hold one group for 1,000 days without a trial, Jamal needs to be in prison too, right? So, let's see, what else? Russia's always the boogeyman, though, just like China. I believe there are people in both countries. It makes one wonder why they're always the boogeyman. Yeah, you're right. I mean, when you talk about people like Lindsey Graham's the poster child, but there's a ton of, what do they call them, neocons, that they profit from war. Why are we listening to people that have a financial interest in war? Why are we listening to pharmaceutical companies that have a financial interest in disease, right? But the same thing goes for war, right? Why are we listening to him at all, right? Russia, I think, back in the 80s, I really, I don't know if anybody remembers the made-for-TV movie called The Day After. I was a kid when that came out, and that scared the bejesus out of me. I really thought that was about to happen, and you know what? In some ways, it probably was. And Red Dawn, we all watched the movie Red Dawn. That was a real possibility at the time. The Soviet Union was certainly capable of all that. But today, we bankrupted the Soviet Union, right? And so Russia is really all that's left. And while they are a formidable entity, they're not the same, threat that they were maybe in the 80s, right? Now, China, I think China's a little bit different story, but even with China, they're not necessarily, they don't want a military fight with us. That's not what they want. They are the enemy because of economics. They want an economic fight with us, and they are winning that because we let them, right? And so they are the boogeyman as far as I'm concerned, but not on a military, we're going to invade basis, but more so on a, we're going to buy everything that is meaningful to you and control you because you won't have availability of resources because we own everything, and we own the United States. And so that's why I think we need to be cautious of China, not and they're building up their military, but they're building up their military to fight things like Taiwan, not to fight the United States, right? They're beating us on the economic frontier. So there's that. Okay, I've meandered all through geopolitical stuff, as ignorant as I may be of it. I'm sure they're greedy, but so are we. Yeah. I mean, I I don't, and maybe this is going to echo some of the things that President Trump might say, but I don't blame a country for looking out for their own self-interest. I don't blame them for trying to take advantage of us and uh, boost their own economy and their own country. I blame our own politicians for allowing that to happen, for allowing us to be taken advantage of. There we need to look out for ourselves. And politically speaking, we're not doing that. So when you say, we're greedy, well, that's human nature. I mean, that's what makes capitalism work, right? That's not, greed is not necessarily a bad thing, unless you take it to the extent of exploitation. But no, I don't blame China for taking advantage of us. I blame our own politicians for allowing it to happen, right? So now my own, let's see, okay, I don't either, but we shouldn't be stealing resources from other countries either. We have plenty of our own resources. Yeah, I mean, I think that's one of those things that you could kind of go down the list of examples of things like that where maybe we're in the wrong. But we do have our own resources. We should open up our own access to our own resources as far as drilling and oil and all that kind of thing. So yeah, I don't disagree with that. One of the things that's been going through my head, and maybe this is crazy talk, but what I think should happen is I think we should have dynamic tariffs. I think we should do a truer calculation of our trade deficits. We already kind of know the trade balance between us and other countries, but I think we should make sure we include in there services and service industry. In other words, if we have a call center in another company, that should count against the trade balance. If we have people here in the United States working on a visa of any sort, that should count against our trade balance. But I think we should implement dynamic tariffs so that if there is a balance where we are in the negative, then we should ratchet up the tariffs with that country until they become equal. Now there needs to be a transition, so you can't just go, there's no tariffs, bam, there's 75% tariffs. I would say, it needs to be calculated like on a rolling 13-month basis, and quarterly it gets adjusted by a maximum of, let's say, 5% or something like that. So it kind of ticks up over time until the balance gets in place. But like I said, that's just in my head, and I'm sure lots of people will go, that'll never work. And maybe it won't work, but I think we need to balance trade. We don't talk, K-Train, hey, good to see you. Let's see. Never thought about that, but I agree. Very interesting stuff, and I think we should realize how weak we've become under the current administration. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think we've kind of ignored the whole weakness factor. But just to kind of wrap up the whole trade thing, we cripple ourselves by virtue of regulation. Now, not all regulations are bad. You have to have some regulations when you start talking about labor laws and OSHA safety and things like that. We have chosen as a country to implement regulations for our own safety and well-being and the good of people, right? And those aren't all bad. Some of them are ludicrous and just wasteful, but every single regulation that we implement has a cost. And so you can't really enforce that regulation on every country we deal with. You know, you could say you must follow the rules of X, Y, and Z, but, you know, kids are building our iPhones, right? You know, we can't go raid the manufacturing plants in China and say, you can't do that. The only way we can regulate that is to balance the cost of doing business against our own. And I propose that via tariffs. And like I said, if we had dynamic tariffs, it would be self-adjusting. So that's the end of that. So, yeah, we have, be back in a few, puppy's got a potty. Okay, yeah. Like, I'm just rambling here. You know, I've been going on for a while. I was gonna work on the car, but you know, it's raining, so GFCI is out at the moment, and I'm not gonna try to solve that while the camera's rolling. So, but yeah, I think our current administration is so weak. And, you know, we've had lots of administrations like that. I mean, you hear President Trump talk, and, you know, he's full of bluster, but I like it. But there's truth to the things that he says, which is that, you know, nobody knows how to negotiate. Nobody calls up and says, hey, this is what you're going to do because we said so. Like, man, I like that car. Oh, thank you. K-Train, I don't know if you've got a chance to see all the cars, so let me walk around a little bit and give a tour of the garage in case you haven't, in case everybody hasn't seen. I bought a gimbal, but I haven't, I don't have it out here. This car is the one that was part of the convoy, right? Dang it. Hold on, let me adjust my tripod a little bit so that I can carry it. Okay, maybe that's a little better. Okay, so this car was part of the convoy. That's the one everybody's familiar with. This car is, this was my daughter's car. Actually, she drove this to high school. It is a Macho Trans Am tribute. And if you're interested in that sort of thing, I could go on and on, but everybody gets bored with that, so I won't go on about it. But this one is my newest acquisition. I had a blue one in high school, and I always wanted another blue one, and I happened upon a place here just a few miles from where I live, and they had this one, and they had it at, I've been looking at them for a long time, and so apologies for the crazy camera. I'm trying to get my tripod set back up. My blue one was all rusted out, and it wound up being primer gray after I tried to make it better, but it wasn't in this good a shape. But a place down the road, it's like 5 miles from my house, they had this one, and it was a very reasonable price. And you know, one of the things I talk, you know, I mean, it's not perfect, but it's in pretty good shape. But at the beginning of the video, I was talking about, I think this wheel needs a spare. Hang on, I think my daughter's home from work, so we'll welcome her. So anyway, I was gonna work on it, but my lift's not working at the moment. So okay, she doesn't know I'm live streaming, so I'll tell her. I'm live streaming, so you can wave at everybody if you want. Do you want to be on camera, or you want me to turn the camera?
It's fine.
Okay. This is my daughter.
Do you want me to close the garage door?
I'll close it. You can go. Got a finicky button on the garage door, and I'm the only one that can really operate it. Everybody else struggles with the buttons. So Debbie says, close the border. Yes, I agree. I really wish we would. That's one of those things that everybody wants to pass new laws, but you know what? We've got laws. Why are we not following the laws we have? You know, I mean, we're seeing, you know, you guys are all viewers of Joe and Josh, and you know, when our own federal agencies are putting them in vans and carrying them across or welding the gates open, you know, that's a clear violation. That we don't need new laws. We need we need someone to enforce the existing laws, right? And I think was it Stephen Miller? I think you guys, if I'm getting him mixed up, I think that's who said it recently. He tweeted or X'd, what's the new verb for X? I don't know. He was like, you know, if you want Ukraine package, we'll do it only if we have a new border patrol border enforcement laws. And I responded to him, you know what? The only downside of that is we're going to spend all this money to Ukraine, and then we're going to also send all this money to the administration who's only going to use it to send illegal aliens all across the country, right? They're not going to use it to actually shut the border, you know. So I think anyone who says we need more money for the border is kind of fooling themselves. We need to, once we start enforcing the border laws, the current laws, and we close the gates on the existing wall, then, okay, maybe we can talk about things that can make it better. But if you're actively trying to break down the border, I'm not willing to spend more money to make it worse, right? You know, we need to show some net positives as far as enforcing the existing laws, and like I said, closing the existing gates, and not doing what our current administration is doing. So I don't think that's going to get fixed until we have a new administration. Not unless you start arresting federal officials, right? Which is not going to happen. I mean, it's just not, right? So you know, there's that. All right. Well, I've been rambling for a while. You guys have any other subjects that y'all want to talk about, or anything on your mind? Let's see. The border is definitely a problem. Too many have already been let in. Yeah, I agree. It's at this point, you've got to take it in phases. First, you got to stop the bleeding, right? Shut it down. I mean, and again, this isn't going to happen unless and until, you know, we reelect President Trump or someone. I don't know of anyone else that's prepared to actually shut the border. But first, you got to stop the bleeding. Now, once you stop the bleeding, that's not enough. We got to start deporting people. We've got to start, you know, if you come in contact with law enforcement, you need to be deported, right? I mean, you're here illegally. I know everybody has a sob story, and I've met and known great people that are here, but you can't let that influence enforcing the law, right? You know, that we are overwhelmed at the moment. I started doing the math, and we are probably somewhere in the ballpark of at least 15, if not 20% of our population is here illegally. I mean, think about that for a minute. 20%, that's huge, right? I mean, that's not just some people in the shadows. That's a significant portion of our population. And the math says that they are a net negative to our economy. You know, oh, they work for cheap, they boost the economy, they do all these good things, but they don't, you know, they're not paying income taxes. They're a net negative on our economy. We can debate that, the nuances of that, but we can't just stand by and say, well, that's okay because everybody has a sad story. I'm not heartless, but you know, we just cannot accept the continued flood. It's killing us. And you know, all of these sanctuary cities are suddenly saying, hey, we're not a sanctuary city anymore. You know, Eric Adams in New York says they're all full up. Well, you know what? Texas has been all full up for a couple decades now, right? So maybe, you know, maybe the whole busing thing is what it takes to wake some people up. But hopefully they'll start at least taking notice. And next election cycle, people will take that into consideration. So yeah, I agree with you, K-Train. Yeah, it's a problem. And K-Train, this probably doesn't apply to you. Well, I don't know that much about you, but I think most of your harvesting is mechanized, let's just say that. And so people want to talk about agriculture and you know, we need the workers and that sort of thing. But I think that's just, all that's doing is it's falsifying the market. There's a better word, but it's making the market below what it should be. You know, if it costs a certain amount to harvest crops, then the price at the grocery store ought to reflect that, right? And so if we're cheating the system, that doesn't reflect the regulations we put in. And like I said, there's a cost to regulations. I talked about that earlier. And one of those things is minimum wage. You know, we define that for a reason. And if that's what we're willing, as a society, we're willing to pay minimum wage to everybody, then we ought to be able to pay the cost that it takes to harvest our food. So let's see, a lot of military-age men that are here to cause problems. Those problems might wake some folks up. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. That, you know, that's been something a lot of us have recognized for years and years and years. But you know, the politicians will talk about, oh, the families and the children and yada yada yada. Well, yeah, there's a handful of families and there's a handful of children that come across, but the vast majority are military-aged males. And you know, when you watch Joe and Josh's streams, right, and countless other streamers like Ben Bergquam has done a lot of coverage. You know, these are not all kids and families. It's military-aged men, and while some of them, I'd say probably the majority of them are here for financial gain. You know, people are coming from all over the world, not just from Central and South America. You know, what are the odds that they're not all here for economic gains? What, some percentage of them have to be here for nefarious reasons, right? So let's see, I haven't had any of them coming by looking for jobs. They're here for free stuff and to cause trouble, in my honest opinion. Yeah, that's true. Like I said, K-Train, I think different, you know, people think of agriculture and farming as all one big industry, but depending on your crops or product, I should say, you have different labor needs, right? You know, whether you're raising cattle or, you know, wheat or corn or fruit, they all have different types of labor needs. And some of those things are more mechanized, and so maybe you only need one or two or a handful of laborers. And some of them are very labor intensive and you need a lot. And so, you know, the lettuce pickers, I don't know much about lettuce, but, you know, my understanding, you need a lot of hands, right? So it is probably very tempting for people that work in that's their crop, to hire hire a lot of people, right? And so I think that that's troublesome. And you know, I mean, the same's true when you start talking about construction. You know, when you talk about people that are in the construction industry, you know, it's hard work. Anything that's hard work, and somebody's going to do it for. Most people are not going to do hard work for cheap wages. You're going to do easy work for cheap wages. The harder the work, the more you want for wages. But if you're here illegally, you'll do whatever work you can get away with. And so when you talk about construction or agriculture, or things that are, maybe you don't necessarily have a vast HR department to monitor those types of things, that's where the work is for people that are here illegally, right? So it's unfortunate, but yeah, like I said, K-Train, I don't know how much I've shared with everybody, but you know, my father raises cattle, and you know, I grew up raising cattle and working cattle, and 80 years old, he does it all himself. I go help him when I can, but you know, you don't necessarily need a whole lot of laborers if you have a small herd and you know, can have a gentle herd. So but if you're picking lettuce, you need laborers, right? And so you're gonna find them wherever you can find them. So let's see, I'm looking for jobs. They're here for free stuff. Yeah, I feel like, I don't know, is that society as a whole? I think you know, you see a lot of complaints about Gen Z wanting to, you know, have, you know, 6-digit salaries for working 20 hours a week or something like that. And so, you know, you have people coming to this country illegally and expecting the same kind of handout. I don't really want to do that much, but I ought to get something for free. You know, maybe I don't know if that's unique to the illegal alien population, but yeah, that's a problem. I do most of the work myself, and it was hard to find any help. Yeah, I understand that. Like I said, there are some things that you can do a lot with the right machinery, and you know, that's really great for the family-owned farms. If you can, you know, take care of your own farm and take care of your own family, I think that's ideal. It's painful to manage people, right? Even if you can find good help. I talk about my dad and working out there, but I have a real job, and I manage people. I used to computer stuff. Not to get too much into my job, but I used to write code and do all those things, and I figured out at some point in my life that's what I was good at. And by the nature of moving up the corporate ladder, I became a manager and those sorts of things. And when you start leading people, you're not really doing the thing anymore, and you spend all your time managing people and email and all that good stuff. And I work in an industry where all of my employees make at least 6 figures, but it's like babysitting children. I mean, come on, people, you ought to be mature adults. It's not like y'all are, you know, teenagers in high school, but it's a sad state of affairs. So yeah, it's hard to find good help. Do most of my work myself, and it is hard to find any help. Yeah, I read that already. Okay, yeah. So it is hard. It is hard to find somebody that you can give instruction to and they go execute on that instruction without screwing it up, right? And if you find somebody that can do that, you make them the boss, right? Okay, yes, everyone wants a handout. And no, it's not just unique to the immigrants. Our government has done a good job of trying to make everyone dependent on them. Yeah, that's true. That's true. I could rant day and night. So I'm probably boring you guys at this point. I think I've rambled on for a good almost an hour now. So yeah, I thank everybody for stopping in. Like I said, for those of you who weren't here in the beginning, there's not many people streaming on a Friday night. I know Joe made the journey to Yuma to go get waffles. I'm so excited about that. God bless Joe. He's such a great guy. I made a comment on his stream last night. I don't get to watch Joe that much because he streams at night. I sleep at night, right? So, but I love what he does, and going all the way back to for those of you that remember him standing up at the end of the convoy and taking a stand. I was really proud of him for what he did and what he said at that time. I was lucky enough to get a chance to meet Joe. He's a great guy. And he last night I gave him a super chat because he's out feeding the homeless. He doesn't have to do that. His stream is about police scanner stuff, but while he's out there, he's feeding the homeless. And he always does stuff for people at Christmas, and he's such a generous guy. I don't know why I'm grandstanding about Joe at the moment, but I just wanted to say that, K-Train, especially since you're here. But anybody that watches Joe, he's such a good guy, and he's on his way to get waffles, and that warms my heart, that he's going to get waffles. So I couldn't be happier for him. But he drove all day, and now he's not streaming, so I don't have anything to do. And then Josh Oreo, I spend a lot of my time there, mostly because he's streaming during the day, and that's when I'm awake. No, I like Josh a lot, and but for whatever reason, he's not streaming tonight either. And I know, when he does stream on Fridays, it's usually earlier in the day, and so Friday nights seem to be empty for us YouTube delinquents. So maybe I'll make this a regular thing on Friday night. Just to kind of hang out with you guys, anybody that's interested. I know it's probably a little late for a lot of people here, but like I said, Friday nights, because nobody else is on. Let's see. Okay, let's see. Good job to make everyone. Okay, sorry, man. I just think we are tired of it, all those cars, and enjoy hearing from you. Joe's a great guy, same in person as he is on the stream. Yeah. Yeah, no, I don't I don't expect anybody to stream 24 hours a day. Everybody needs some time off. So that's why, like I said, if nobody else is on, and anyone is interested, maybe Friday nights is maybe my thing, so yeah, maybe I think I might. I don't know how many people enjoy the political talk or the car stuff. I intended to work on my car tonight, but that didn't work out so well. I don't know if I'll turn this into a, work session car stuff, or like I said, political stuff. I know most of you guys because of the political aspect of it, but we'll see. And like I said, I appreciate you guys being here. So I think I'm gonna call it a night, but I enjoy spending time with y'all. Thank you for listening and hanging out, and maybe we'll do it again next week.